Hello, Advanced Hires. I trust that you're well and you had a good Christmas and New Year, and that you're ready to get stuck back into your learning, even though you are doing it remotely at the minute. But I do look forward to the time that we can work together virtually, and also I look forward to returning to school whenever that may be. So today I've got a lesson for you planned around revision of our styles, melody and harmony and structure, form concepts before undertaking some past papers. So our learning intentions today are to revise concepts related to styles, melody, harmony and structure form, and then we're going to complete 3 past paper questions focusing on the concepts that we're going to talk about. By the end of the lesson, we should be able to say that we can differentiate between a variety of different advanced hire concepts, and you can apply our knowledge of how to tackle different questions forms to answer the 3 questions from that past paper. So if it's multiple choice, knowing techniques in order to best answer that question, or if it's a blank box you have to fill in, knowing that it has to be a advanced hire concept. So to start us off, what I'd like you to do is to write down the 3 different headings for me: style, melody, harmony, structure, form. And then you'll see that there are different concepts kind of strewn all over the page there. I'd like you to put them under the correct heading for me. So I'll give you, let's say, a minute and a half to do that. So I'll stay silent for a minute and a half and then we'll go on to our answers. Okay. Okay, so that's about your time. If you do need more time, then just pause the video before you look at the answers. So you can pause the video just now if you do need more time, and then just press play when you're ready. So to look at our answers then, under our 3 headings: style, and then melody, harmony, structure, form, let's start off with our styles and we'll go through them. So start off, we've got our Galliard, which is of course our Renaissance dance with 3 beats in the bar. We've also got a chorale, which is a German hymn tune with soprano, alto, tenor, bass. We've got electronic dance music, which is obviously like our music we'll expect to hear in a club or played by a DJ. And then we've also got serialism, which is a 20th century compositional technique based on the 12 notes of the tone row or the note row, and they're arranged in different ways in order to give this kind of weird, unusual sound. It's very atonal music and it doesn't have a feeling of key, and that's why it has that kind of, as I said, unusual sound. So that is our styles. Moving on to melody and harmony, we've got polytonality. It also could be called bitonality if it was just two different tonalities. So that's when we have two different keys playing at the same time. So for example, if you're playing the piano and your right hand was in G major and your left hand was in C major, for example. Then we've got our tone row. Now, I briefly talked about that in our serialism. So knowing that is what our serialist music is structured upon. It's the 12 chromatic notes arranged in a certain way. We've also then got suspension, which is, as you know, when we have a note of the chord kind of dangled above it and then it resolves. So for example, if you're playing your guitar and you had a chord that says D sus4, then what would happen is you would play the fourth of the chord and then that would fall to the third to complete the chord. So you've got your suspension, creating that tension, and then it resolves. Then for our structure form, we've got song cycle, and you should know that your song cycle is a selection of lead or leader songs, which are obviously German songs accompanied by the piano, found a lot in our Romantic era. And all of those leader songs would be on the one theme, and it would make sense for them all to be put together in the one song cycle. The next concept is antiphonal. Now this is one I always get you to remember the Chuckle Brothers for, and where they go to me, to you, to me, to you. So it's passing the melody or the theme from one group of instruments to another. So it could be the violins that play it, and then straight after that it could be the flutes that play it, for example. So antiphonal, think of the Chuckle Brothers, to me, to you, to me, to you. And then we've also got fugue, which you should know is a huge concept when it comes to our advanced higher. There's lots of different aspects to it, but remember that our fugue always starts off with one voice, as we call it, or our subject, which plays the main theme, and then all the other parts come in gradually. And following our subject, we then have an answer that plays directly after it, and the continuation of that subject from the start is called the counter subject, and that's some of the concepts we have within fugue. So that's where all those concepts should go under the appropriate heading. So let's try and put this into practice then. Okay, so moving on to a past paper styled question. Now, it is from a long time ago, in 2007, but all the concepts that we have in front of us are relevant and they're still in our course, and the audio example is very good, so I think it's a good starting point for our past papers. So, in this question, you're asked to select 4 different features that is present in the music from the list below. So what we'll do is I'll very quickly speak about each of the different concepts before playing the music. So, to start us off with stretto, we've literally just finished talking about our fugue, and this is another part of it, and you know that stretto is when all of the different parts of the fugue enter quickly. We've also then got a basso continuo, which is an easy concept to understand. It's just a continuous bass line, usually found in, could be Baroque music, played on the harpsichord, for example. We've then got our consort, and you know that a consort is a group of instruments from the same family, playing together, usually from the Renaissance period. We've then got diminution, and that is when it seems that the music's getting faster, but it's actually the note values that are shortening to give that impression. We've then got passacaglia, which is variations over a ground bass, or a continuous bass line. We've then got neoclassical, which came after the Romantic period, when composers of that time decided to go back to kind of more classical styled composition, but they still incorporated their larger orchestras, perhaps more chromatic music, but still went back to that classical style of composition. We've then got sonata form, which is obviously primarily found in sonata, but it could also be the first movement of our symphony, and it's when we have our exposition, we then have our development, and then we have our recapitulation at the end. We also then have our mordant, which is a type of ornament where we play the note, then the note above, and then back to the original note. We also then have hemiola, which is a rhythmic device where we are changing from duple to triple time or vice versa. So for example, it could go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2, for example. And that would happen throughout the music. It also sometimes is used at the end of a piece of music to give the impression that music is slowing down, or to give the impression of a rallentando. But it's when we change from our duple to triple time or vice versa. And then finally, another ornament, our acciaccatura, which is our crush note, is used frequently in different styles of music, but it's our crush note in terms of our ornament. So let's have a listen to question 1 and see how you go on. So what I'd like you to do is to write down the answers for your question, and then basically what we're going to do with all your answers is submit them to me through Share My Homework, and I'll mark them for you and provide feedback. So make sure that you have selected 4 different examples from the list there. And what I want you to think about just before I play the question are things that are going to match together or things that don't make sense. So for example, stretto and sonata form don't make sense to go together because stretto is part of your fugue and sonata form is another type of form or structure. And then we've got mordant and acciaccatura. Unless you're absolutely certain you hear both of them, they're options for you in terms of ornaments. So my guess is it's going to probably be one of them. So unless you're absolutely certain, so make sure that you apply these things when you do these multiple choice questions, as it will help you answer it effectively. So let's have a go at question 1.
Question 1. Read through the list of features before hearing the excerpt. Take 4 features which are present in the music. You will hear the music twice with a pause of 10 seconds between playings and a pause of 15 seconds before the next question starts. You now have 15 seconds to read through the list. Here is the music for the first time. Here is the music for the second time.
Okay, moving on then to question 2. So in question 2, you're asked to listen to the following piece of music and identify the style of composition, and you have to write that in the space below. Now I want you to think how you're going to answer this question, think of all these different advanced higher styles, start with them first, before moving down obviously to higher and National 5. More than likely this is probably going to be an advanced higher concepts, so let's have a little listen.
Question 2. Listen to the following piece of music and identify the style of composition in the space provided. Here is the music.
Okay, so you only hear that one once. So let's move on to question 3. So in this question, again, you're picking 4 from the list below. I'll very briefly just go over each of the concepts before letting you answer them. So Renaissance, which you know is obviously a style of music or an era or period of music before the Baroque period, where we had things like anthems and motets and galliards and pavans and all that kind of thing. Then we've got our Baroque music, where we have this new instrument called the harpsichord, and we've also got things that are concerto grosso in that style. So from there, we've got our galliard, which is a Renaissance dance with 3 beats in the bar. We've got suspension, which we talked briefly about before, where we have this kind of almost dissonance, which then resolves to consonance, or one note of the chord kind of dangles above it and then resolves to the right note. We've then got polytonality, which is obviously used in 20th century music when we have 2 different tonalities going at the same time, or multiple different tonalities going at the same time, I should say. Antiphonal, which is our Chuckle Brothers, To Me, To You. We've then got pavan, which is a slow, more kind of stately dance with 2 beats in the bar from the Renaissance era. We've got nationalist, which is a style of music which is associated from the country that it was made in. So for example, if we had Scottish nationalist music, or you could have Egyptian nationalist music. Then we've got Tierce de Picardy, which is our minor piece of music ending on a major chord. And then finally, we've got our Concerto Grosso, which is a large-scale work from the Baroque period, where we have our Concertino, which are the soloists. We've got our Ripieno, which is the rest of the orchestra. We've also got the Ritornello, which is the main theme that keep the Ripieno play. And we will also have a basso continuo within our Concerto Grosso as well. So let's have a little listen to question 3 and see how you go on. Here we go.
Question 3. Read through the list of features below before hearing the excerpt. Tick 4 features which are present in the music. You will hear the music twice, with a pause of 10 seconds between playings and a pause of 15 seconds before the next question starts. You now have 15 seconds to read through the list. Here is the music for the first time. Here is the music for the second time.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is to send me a picture of all of your answers. I'll mark it for you and then give you feedback. I'll also make another video for you for next week. I look forward to hearing from you. Please stay safe and I'll see you soon.